Right. So, a very good afternoon and welcome to all of board, guys. I hope all of you are well. So, we are studying the spoken English course. We are having the spoken English course, and this was supposed to be the introductory class. We've already had two classes under this course or under this module, that is your pronunciation and fluency module. This was supposed to be the introductory class, that is how to master pronunciation. So I've modified the class for you. How do you master pronunciation? We are going to learn, and what is the importance of pronunciation, what is the importance of correct pronunciation, how it's going to help you in learning the language. This is what we are going to cover in today's session. So while I share this session, if you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. As I share my PPT, if you have any kind of doubts, you can ask your doubts, right? So you can switch between my screen and the PPT. You can simply tap on the PPT, and the module that we are discussing is the pronunciation and fluency module. The module that we are discussing, or the module that I'll be handling, is the pronunciation and fluency module. Apart from the pronunciation and fluency module, there are two other modules in the English, or in the spoken English course. There are two other modules in this course. The two modules are grammar and vocabulary. So as we have already discussed, and as we also discuss in every class, that apart from pronunciation and fluency, that are the two important key elements of spoken English. Pronunciation, how you speak the words or what are the sounds that you make, and your fluency, how comfortable are you with the language. Apart from these two elements, grammar and vocabulary are also very important, right? So how correctly you use your words and what kind of words you use, this is what is covered in the other two modules. This is what is covered in the other two modules. So let us begin this session. Let us begin without wasting any more time. What we are going to discuss in today's session is how to master pronunciation. How to master pronunciation in the English language. In the English language. So then our target language is English. Our target language, that is the language in which we are trying to achieve pronunciation, that is correct pronunciation, and we are trying to achieve fluency, is the English language. So what is the difference between target language and our native language? Let's discuss briefly. Your native language or your mother tongue is the language that you usually speak or you usually use with your parents, with your family members, etc. So this is one language. Your native language is one language that you are very comfortable with, because you have been taught this language since you started speaking. The first word that you might have uttered was in your mother tongue, was in your native tongue. But in case of target language is something that you learn or that you acquire throughout the course of your life, and you learn it for professional reasons or for educational reasons. So why are we trying to learn English? Maybe our purposes are different. Maybe our end purpose for, or the ultimate purpose for learning the English language is different for each of us. I learned English because I wanted to proceed or I wanted to move ahead in my career. Maybe you are learning English, or maybe you are trying to gain proficiency in English because you have to use English in your professional communication. Or you might be appearing for interviews and you have decided that yes, in order to make a good impression, I am going to use English in my interviews. So our purposes for learning the target language, that is the language we learn in the developing phase of our lives. The target language, the motive behind learning the target language can be different, but the journey, that is the path that we need to follow, must be the same. Why? Because it has to be a systematic way. How you learn a language has to be very systematic. You have to be very careful about the grammar rules, that is what is the sentence structure in that language. You have to be very careful about the vocabulary, what kind of words you use in that language. And finally, you have to be careful about the pronunciation and fluency. So you have to be careful how you utter those words, how you utter those sounds. And you have to be fluent in the language, that is, you have to be comfortable in the language. so comfortable that these words come to you naturally. They come to your mind naturally. So this is what we are trying to achieve. Today we are going to focus on pronunciation. So going to give you tips. I'm going to give you tips that you can use to enhance your pronunciation. So let us start the session and let us look at the lesson plan. That is, how are we going to proceed in this session? What are we going to learn in this session? The first point here says introduction to the topic. So we'll try to understand the topic in detail. We'll try to get an in-depth analysis and in-depth understanding of the topic. What is the topic at hand? The topic at hand is how to master pronunciation. That is how to gain proficiency in case of pronunciation. How to master pronunciation. Notice pronunciation is one word that is oftenly mispronounced. This is one word that is oftenly mispronounced, so you have to be very careful about such words. It is not pronunciation, it is pronunciation. Notice the spelling also. It's not pronunciation, it's pronunciation. Right? The next point or the next aspect of this session is going to be understanding why pronunciation is important for us, or specifically why correct pronunciation is important for us. Why is correct pronunciation important? And finally, we are going to look at the tips and the tricks that we can use to master pronunciation. So here we are going to learn the tips and the tricks that we can use to master pronunciation. Up till now, if you guys have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. If you have any doubts in the introductory part or how we are going to proceed in the session, you can ask your doubts. Otherwise, we'll move ahead. So now, let us move ahead and let us discuss further. What is pronunciation? So what are we aiming at? We are aiming at pronunciation. We are aiming correct pronunciation. This is our goal. This is our target. But what is pronunciation? What do you understand by the word pronunciation? Pronunciation is nothing but the way in which a word or a language is spoken. The way in which a word or a language is spoken. So here we are not discussing accent. Here we are not discussing about accent. Accent varies on, or accent depends on different causes, or accent varies according to different reasons. Those reasons could be geographical, those reasons could be ethical, those reasons could be cultural. So your accent can vary depending upon the geographical region you are in, depending upon ethical reasons, depending upon cultural reasons, etc. So your accent can vary on a number of reasons, or can vary due to a number of reasons. But what we are aiming at is the way we speak a word or a language. The way we speak a word or a language, the sound that we utter. So what we are aiming at is essentially correct pronunciation. What we are aiming at is correct pronunciation. We need to utter those sounds. We need to utter those sounds correctly. So this is what the next part of the introduction is telling you. This is what the next part of the introduction is telling you. The next part says sequences of sounds. So when you utter a word, when you speak a word, you are essentially making some sounds. You are essentially using your mouth, you're using your tongue, you're using your breath to utter some kind of a sound. What our aim is that whatever sequence of sound or whatever pattern of sound we make, that must be correct. That must be correct. Now notice, because I had introduced the concept of accent, you do not need to worry, or you do not need to copy someone's accent. There are varied accents in English language. So there's this British accent, there's the American accent, there's the Australian accent. There are numerous accents in the English language. If you wish to pick up on an accent, that is a totally different case. But what we are looking forward to is the correct pattern in which we utter these sounds. The correct pattern in which we utter these sounds that we make. So I hope the introduction is clear. I hope the introduction is clear. If you have any doubts as to what is pronunciation, you can ask your doubts. If you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. You must understand what is pronunciation. Only then can you work upon your pronunciation. Only then can you work upon your pronunciation. Any kind of doubts, any kind of additions that you wish to make. If you wish to make additions to this, you can make additions also. If you want to make a comment, you can definitely go ahead and make a comment on this. Right. So since there are no doubts, let's move ahead and let us look at the next part of this session. That is, why is pronunciation important? Specifically, why is correct pronunciation important? Why is correct pronunciation important? The first part tells you effective communication. So guys, when you use English as a language, when you use English as a language or medium of conversation, what you are essentially aiming at is effective communication. So apart from using the word correctly, that is apart from uttering the word correctly, you must be able to listen and grasp the word effectively also. So this follows, or from this follows the second point. So we are going to learn the first and the second point, or we are going to look at the first and the second point in conjunction. We are going to look at these 2 points together. The second point says listening and speaking take place in conjunction to each other. So what we are trying to say here, or what we are trying to understand here, is that for effective communication, what the other person is saying, you must be able to understand, and what you are saying, the other person must be able to understand. So essentially we are talking about comprehension here. Essentially we are talking about comprehension here. So both the parties who are involved in a conversation, both the parties or both the people who are involved in a conversation must be able to comprehend what the other person is saying, must be able to understand what the other person is saying. Only when you understand clearly what the other person is saying will you be able to come up with a suitable response. Will you be able to come up with a suitable response? So suppose the person is trying to ask you, which flavor of ice cream do you prefer? Which flavor of ice cream do you prefer? But you do not understand that he or she is asking you about flavor. So unless and until you understand what you are being asked about, unless and until you understand what you are being asked about, you will not be able to give a satisfactory response, or for that matter you will not be able to give a correct response. So that will cause miscommunication, or that will result in ineffective communication. So in order to be better at your communication skills, in order to enhance the quality of your communication skills, in order to improve the quality of your communication skills, pronunciation, and specifically correct pronunciation, is very important, right? So when you hold your professional communications also, when you have your professional communications also, this is where pronunciation will play a part. This is where pronunciation will play a part. Only when you are able to send across a clear message, only when you are able to send across a clear message will you be able to achieve this goal of effective communication. So I hope the first 2 points are clear. I hope the first 2 points are clear. If you have a doubt in the first 2 points, you can ask your doubts. If you have any doubts in the first 2 points, you can ask your doubts, guys. If you have no doubts, we'll move on. A very good afternoon to people who have joined in right now. Good afternoon, Manjot. Good afternoon and welcome to the class. So if you guys have doubts, you can ask your doubts. If you guys have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. with respect to the first 2 points. We have discussed the first 2 points up till now. If you want me to repeat a certain section, even then you can ask. If you want me to repeat a certain part, a certain point, or a certain segment of the explanation, you can ask. So the third point here says it will help you in learning English more effectively. So you are not going to learn the pronunciation of words separately. When you are learning a language, you are not going to learn pronunciation separately. Only when you are efficient or only when you are proficient with the language, that is only when you are comfortable with the language, will you be able to learn it more effectively. So that is where correct pronunciation also plays a part. So there are a few elements of learning English. There are a few elements of learning English. Those elements are reading, writing, and communicating. Reading, writing, and communicating in the English language. So these are the elements that we need to focus on, or these are the elements on which we are trying to gain proficiency, on which we are trying to gain mastery. So if your pronunciation is correct, automatically it has a positive impact on your reading skills. If your pronunciation is correct, obviously you are going to pay a little more attention to the spellings as well. You are going to pay a little more attention to the spellings as well. And together, reading and writing will contribute to communication, will contribute to the communication domain, that is your spoken domain. So when you use English as a medium of conversation, obviously it will have a great impact if the first two domains have been worked upon. And your ultimate base was clear. So this is what we need to focus upon: reading, writing, and communicating. We need to work on these three aspects together, keeping in mind pronunciation as the base of these three. Keeping in mind pronunciation as the base of these three. That is how we'll be able to learn or gain proficiency in the language effectively. If you have a doubt in the third point, you can ask your doubt. Yes, I am from Delhi. So here, when we say writing, and when we are talking about spellings, one point to note here is that spellings will not always help you with the pronunciation. Spellings might not always help you with the pronunciation. So as we have more sessions on this, as we have more sessions under this course, that is the spoken English course, I'm going to help you with the spellings also. So how do spellings contribute to pronunciation? You might have observed that in case of certain words or certain letters are silent. When you use this word honesty, the H sound is missing or the H is silent. H sound here is silent. So the word is honesty. The word that you're using or the word that you're saying is honesty, but the H sound is silent and the spelling is different. So spellings might not always help you with the pronunciation, but at times spellings will definitely help you. But the ultimate goal is to be careful, to be conscious about the spellings also, to improve your writing quality, to improve the quality of your written texts. Where do written texts come, or where do written texts play a role in your life? So it can be varied again. It can be different. It can vary from person to person. So if you are a banking aspirant, then obviously you have to appear for your descriptive exams also. But if your end goal is different, if your ultimate goal of learning the language is different, so for example, your ultimate goal for learning the language is that you wish to move ahead in your profession, you wish to move ahead in your career, and for that English is important. So maybe you are learning English to be able to write emails effectively, right? That is also where communication plays a part. Written form of communication is also a form of communication, and there also you are using English as a medium of communication. So there also writing will play a part. So everywhere you have to take up pronunciation as the base or as the foundation of learning the language more effectively. Up till now, if you have a doubt in the first 3 points, you can ask. In this section, that is why is pronunciation important for you. If you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. If you want me to repeat, I'll repeat. So you can ask me to repeat as well if you want. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next section, that is how to work upon our pronunciation skills. What are the tips that we can use to work upon our pronunciation skills? And you can use the chat box, guys. If you have any doubts, you can ask, or you can simply write clear in the chat box so that I know that yes, we can move ahead. Right. So let us move ahead and let us look at the tips and the tricks that we can use. So after this session, I want you to use these tips. I want you to use these methods of improving your pronunciation. Mastering pronunciation is a totally different story. But first, you have to improve. You have to start from somewhere so that you can improve or enhance your pronunciation. The first word or the first point that is given to you says, know what you sound like or know what you want to sound like. So if you wish to pick up an accent, we have already discussed that there are multiple or there are varied accents in the English language. So there can be the British accent, the American accent, or the Australian accent. The major three accents are the British, American, and Australian accent. So first, you must know what kind of an accent do you wish to pick up, or do you wish to pick up an accent at all or not, right? So your aim, your motive behind learning the language should be clear. So today, sit down and try to understand why you are trying to learn the language. Or you can tell me, right now as well that what is your main aim of learning the language. I have problems speaking in English and hesitate a lot. So if you hesitate a lot, if you hesitate in using the language, you need to master your hesitation first. You need to overcome your hesitation. The point that you are looking for here is that you need to overcome your hesitation. Try to understand why are you hesitating. Try to understand the reason behind your hesitation. Try to understand the reason behind your hesitation. Maybe you might feel that your sentences are not grammatically correct. Maybe you might feel that your sentences are not grammatically correct. Or you might feel that the vocabulary or the words that you are using in your environment or in your social circle are not up to the mark, right? So you tend to avoid English altogether. Or you might feel that I am using these two correctly. I am using grammar rules properly in my sentences and I am using a fine vocabulary in my conversation. But where I lack is pronunciation. That is, I often tend to mispronounce the words or words do not come to me naturally. That is, I lack fluency in the language. Words do not come to my mind naturally because you generally use Hindi. So guys, yesterday also we had discussed that if you wish to master a language, or if you wish to learn a language for that matter, the first point that you need to keep in mind is start using the language. Start using the language with people when you are with people. So just inform your friends that yes, I am trying to learn a new language. Inform your friends, inform your family members, inform your colleagues that I am trying to learn a new language and I would like help from everyone. Just correct me when I am using the language incorrectly. This is first point. The second point is that you start thinking in the English language. So conceive your original thoughts. In the English language and avoid translation. So because you are using Hindi, or because Hindi is your mother tongue, it's your native language, you must avoid thinking about a sentence in Hindi. So I'll give you an example. I had given this example. Yes, I had given this example yesterday also. My mother tongue is also Hindi. Even I am a Hindi speaker. I am a native Hindi speaker. मेरी mother tongue भी हिंदी ही है. I have been speaking or using Hindi since my childhood. Even today, when I talk to my family members, I do not use English as a medium of communication, obviously, because I'm talking to my family members, right? So, हमारा एम क्या है कि हमें ओरिजिनल थॉट हिंदी में नहीं सोचना, बिकॉज हम लोग एक नई लैंग्वेज लर्न करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. हमारा ओरिजिनल थॉट हमारे माइंड में हिंदी में नहीं आना चाहिए फॉर सम टाइम. And this will require conscious effort on your part. This will require conscious effort on your part. So when you have decided that yes, I will learn the language, try to start thinking in English. How do you start thinking in English? What is the first step? The first step is you start listening to people who are using the language already. Start listening to people who are using the language already. So you do not need to go to your colleagues and just stand there when they are having a discussion. No. What you need to do is you need to start hearing news in the English language. So start hearing news in the English language and notice what is their body language. How are they using the language? You are in your classes also. When you are in your classes also, I am using the language. Try to understand or try to grab the pattern in which thoughts are coming to my mind. Try to get into my psyche. What is ma'am doing? How is she speaking so fluently? What efforts would she have made when she was learning the language? So try to get into somebody's psyche, that how is that person using that language effectively. So when you hear someone speaking, that will also motivate you to use the language, to speak the language yourself. So I was telling you, you can hear news channels, you can listen to podcasts. So this point will come. I will tell you this point in today's session only. But because you have asked this doubt, I am discussing this point. So you have to start listening to news. You have to start listening to podcasts. Now, podcasts are available on multiple topics. So if you are from the engineering background, you can listen podcasts that relate to your science background. If you are from arts, you can listen to topics that interest you. Similarly, topics will vary. Topics of the podcast will vary according to the interest, according to your own interest. Further, you can watch TV shows, you can watch movies in the English language, right? So these are certain ways in which you can use the language. Which college am I from? I am from Delhi University. I completed my graduation and my post graduation from Delhi University, right? The next point here is start recording yourself. So if you hesitate in using the language, so your first step should be that you record yourself. You must know what you sound like. So that you know where you need to improve, so that you know which domain needs improvement. Does grammar need improvement? Does vocabulary need improvement? Or does pronunciation need improvement? This is what you need to do. This should be your first step. Record yourself and try to understand or try to analyze where you are lacking behind. The next point says, focus on the words that give you trouble and break them down and practice them slowly but clearly. So there are words in the English language that you might be facing problem with. I'll give you an example. So there's this word called demagogue. Now, you do not need to know the meaning of this word right now. This is a different word. This is a peculiar word with a spelling that does not correspond with the pronunciation. Of the word. So, how can you master such words? How can you gain proficiency in such words? The 2 points that are listed for you here say, focus on the words that give you trouble. Break them down and practice them slowly but clearly. So suppose demagogue is one such word that is giving you problem. Demagogue is one such word in which you are facing a problem. This is just an example. So what you need to do is you need to break down the word demagogue. So this is what the next point says. Write down the difficult word according to the pronunciation. So this is the word. You break down the word de, ma, and gog. So notice you are using this word as gog. MA is being pronounced as MUH and de remains de. So break down the word into its constituent sounds. Break down the word into its constituent sounds. You can break any kind of words. So suppose this word pronunciation, you were to look at the word pronunciation. So here you will not say pronunciation. You will break down the word, you will say you will say then you will say none, then you will say C, A, and finally shun, or you will say SHN. This sound is SHN. So when you combine these sounds, the word becomes pronunciation. When you combine these sounds, nun, C, A, and shun. When you combine these sounds, the word becomes pronunciation. So it's not pronunciation, it's pronunciation. It's not demagogue, it's demagogue. It's demagogue, right? So this is how you need to focus on each and every word. You need to focus on individual words, not just one single word or not just sentences or phrases. You need to focus on words that are giving you problem, that are giving you trouble, right? Moving on to the next few tips that you can use. Moving on to the next few tips. If you have a doubt, you can ask your doubts. Wherever you have a doubt, you can ask your doubt with respect to the session, obviously, with respect to the points that we are discussing. If you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts, guys. Any doubts in the session, guys? Up till now. So let's discuss further. The point here, the next point here says communication is the key and practice makes you perfect. So unless and until you practice speaking the language correctly, unless and until you practice speaking the language correctly yourself, that is, inform your friends, inform your family members, inform your colleagues that yes, you are learning the language and thus you will use English as the medium of communication. You are going to use English as the medium of communication and you want to be corrected wherever you go wrong. You want to be corrected wherever you go wrong. So this point here says communication is the key and practice will make you perfect. Just like when you are trying to learn to ride a bicycle, just like when you're trying to learn to ride a bicycle, you actually have to get on the bike. You have to get on the bike to be able to ride the bike. Similarly, in order to be able to learn how to speak a language, here English language, if you want to learn how to speak the language effectively, start using the language, guys. You can hear me speak in the class for an hour, for 40 minutes, or for 30 minutes, whatever the duration of the class is. But that will not help you. Just joining the course will not help you. What will help you is the points that we discuss. And one point that I repeat in every class is start using the language. Even if initially you are using the language incorrectly, even if initially your grammar rules are incorrect, you must be proficient in at least using the words correctly. You must be proficient in using the words correctly. So I'll give you an example. Even if you want a glass of water, if you wish to have a glass of water and you do not know how to pronounce or how to construct a sentence, you do not know how to construct a sentence around this, that I want a glass of water. If you wish to ask for a glass of water, I want a glass of water. But somehow this sentence is not coming to your mind. Somehow this sentence is not coming to your mind. Even if you just use this word water, even if you just use this word water, the other person will definitely understand that yes, you want a glass of water. So initially, grammar might not be that important. What might be important is the pronunciation of the word correctly. Only when you use the word correctly will you be able to send across a clear message. And in order to send a clear message, that is, in order to communicate effectively, you will have to start using the language. So this is what the first point is telling you. If you have a doubt in the first point, you can ask your doubts. If you have any doubts in the first point, you can ask your doubts, guys. Moving on to the second point, or the next point here says, watch movies, watch news, listen to podcasts in English. So this we have already discussed. This point we have already discussed, that if you wish to target English, if you wish to gain efficiency in English, you have to learn how the native speakers or how others are using the language. You have to learn what is the correct way of using the language, and what is an effective way of learning how to learn to speak the language is using news channels, movies, TV series, listening to podcasts, etc. So this is what you need to focus upon. Use online tools for pronunciation. So when I say you have to use online tools for pronunciation, even if you just Google a word, even if you just Google the pronunciation of a word, you will get the correct pronunciation with the broken down sounds. So with individual sounds, with individual sounds. So just like I gave you the example of the word demagogue, just like I gave you the example of the word demagogue, if you were to Google the pronunciation of this word, Google will tell you it is de, ma, and gog. So use online tools for pronunciation. Maybe I might not always be available, or maybe a doubt strikes in your mind when the class is not going on, or when you are sitting inside your room and you are reading a novel and you come across a word whose pronunciation you might not know. So what you can do is you can use online tools. There are numerous online tools that are available for pronunciation, for correct pronunciation. So just Google the pronunciation of a word to learn its correct pronunciation. Unless and until you make efforts yourself, unless and until you make efforts yourself, you will not be able to add to your already existing knowledge. You will not be able to add to your already existing knowledge. So this is one point, this is one tip or one trick that you can use. And last point comes, practice tongue twisters. Practice tongue twisters. So when I say practice tongue twisters, I am going to hold a session for this. I'm going to hold a separate session for this. That is practicing tongue twisters. Now, why do we practice tongue twisters? Not just children. So when you were a child, I'm sure in your childhood, you might have learned number of tongue twisters in your native language. You might have learned a number of tongue twisters in your native language. But when we say we are targeting English as a language, you need to learn tongue twisters in English language. I'll give you an example. So there's this tongue twister. Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter. So Betty bought some better butter to make the bitter butter better. So here we are repeating the B sound. Tongue twisters will help you with clear and effective pronunciation. Tongue twisters will help you with clear pronunciation. They'll help you clear your speech out. So with the help of these repeated sounds, tongue twisters help you clear your pronunciation. They help you clear out your communication. So that is why if practicing tongue twisters is also important. So you can start from today, or you can start from the day when we have a separate session on tongue twisters. So I hope this point is clear, or I hope this part is clear. How to master pronunciation. These were certain tips that we had learned. If you have any doubts, if you have any doubts, even general doubts that you might have, you can ask. Whatever general doubts, how to learn an accent. First, you need to identify which accent you are aiming or targeting. First, you need to identify which accent are you targeting. Are you targeting the British accent, the American accent, or the Australian accent? Accordingly, you will have to listen to native speakers. accordingly you will have to listen to native speakers use that language. Because we are in India, our pronunciation, our accent varies from the ones that are spoken in Britain, that is in the United Kingdom, or in America, or in Australia. So when we say accent, accent comes later on. First you need to master your pronunciation. Accent will come way later. Accent will come way later. Whichever accent you want to pick up, the only way is that you listen to the native speakers. You listen to the native speakers speaking and then pick up on the cues that they leave behind, right? If you wish to master the American accent, you will have to watch American sitcoms, you will have to watch American movies, you will have to watch American news speakers, news readers use the language themselves, right? So the only way of picking up an accent, the only way of picking up an accent is hearing the native speakers use the language, listening to native speakers use that language. And that will come later on. First, you need to master your pronunciation. First, you need to be correct with the pronunciation of each and every word that you learn in the English language. So it's absolutely all right if instead of 20 words, you know just 15 or say 17 words. So learn fewer words, but whichever word you learn, pay attention to its pronunciation also. Pay attention to its pronunciation also. Obviously, from your exam point of view or your examinations point of view, you might feel that learning 20 words is way more important. Learning 20 new words, learning 20 new words is way more important than learning just 15 or 17 new words. But from spoken English point of view, that is from the speaking point of view, pronunciation plays a more important part. So learn fewer words, learn lesser words, but pay attention to the correct pronunciation also. So you need to decide your aim. You need to decide your target. Why are you learning the language? Right? And that will decide what are the aspects that you need to focus on. If you have any more doubts, any such doubts, you can ask your doubts. If you have any more doubts like these, you can ask your doubts. Do not hesitate in asking. Is there any trick to remember the meanings of the words? Yes, there are 3 effective techniques of remembering the meanings of the words or learning new words. I'll briefly discuss, because it is a vocabulary topic, I'll briefly discuss those 3 techniques. You may or may not use all of them. You can use maybe one of them. So the first technique is that of root words. The first technique is that of root words. So English is a language that is composed or that is borrowed from a number of languages. So it is borrowed from the Greek language, the Latin language, the Roman language, right? So it has even been borrowed from Sanskrit. It has even been borrowed from Sanskrit. Certain words in the English language are borrowed from Sanskrit and Hindi also. So the first trick is that you try and remember the root words. I'll give you an example. So there's this word called theos. This word is a Greek word which means God. This is a Greek word which means God. So this word theos is used in a number of English words, like in atheist, pantheist, theist, or pantheism, theology, right? So the or theocracy. So these are the words that are made out of this root word, that is theos. So if you notice this word theocracy, or if you notice the word atheist, I'm sure you know the meaning of the word atheist. The meaning of the word atheist is someone who does not believe in God. Someone who does not believe in God. So because you knew the meaning of the word theos, you can guess or you can find out the meaning or you can remember the meaning of a number of words. I listed a number of words for you, right? Atheist, theist, theocracy, pantheist, theology, etc. All these words have an element of this root word, have the meaning of this root word in their exact meanings. So the meaning of the word atheist is one who does not believe in God. Notice the meaning of the word theos is included in the meaning of the word atheist, right? So the first trick is that of root words. The second trick is mnemonics. The second trick is mnemonics. What is mnemonics? If anybody knows what is mnemonics, guys? Mnemonics is using tips and tricks. These tips and tricks can be in your native language also. So at times we do not understand a word. We do not understand the word at all. We do not understand the word at all. So I'll give you an example for this also. There's this word iconoclast. There's this word iconoclast. So when I write this word iconoclast, I always write it as icon o clast. Why do I write this word like this? Who are the icons that we follow? Who are the icons that we follow? Icons are somebody whom we admire. So icons can be political leaders, they can be celebrities, they can be other speakers, etc. Right? So iconoclast is a person who challenges the established beliefs. Who challenges the established beliefs. So who are icons? Icons are people who are established in the society. They are at an established position in the society. And notice classed here sounds similar to clash. Classed sounds similar to clash. So people who clash with the established beliefs, people who clash or people who rebel against the established beliefs or these of the society. So iconoclast is a person who is a rebel, a person who is a rebel who challenges the established beliefs. So this was not the meaning of the word, right? So the meaning of the word was not derived from the root word. Rather, I came up with a trick myself. I broke the word. I broke the word. I can use my native language also. I can use my native language also to come up with such tricks. So mnemonic is nothing but coming up with tricks of your own, coming up with tricks of your own to remember the meaning of the word. And the final trick is that of prefix and suffix. The final trick is that of prefix and suffix. So let us take this example of atheist. Let us take this example of atheist. So when we say atheist, we are using this word or we are using this prefix a. A has a negative connotation. A has a negative connotation. Yes, anything that you can relate the word with. Absolutely correct. So atheist, because it is a negative prefix, the meaning is also negative. Someone who does not believe in God. And theist is someone who believes in God. Someone who believes in God. So that is how prefix and suffix can also help you with the meanings of the words. So these are the three techniques for vocabulary which I usually recommend. Apart from that also, if you have any techniques, you can follow those techniques, right? If you have any further doubts, you can ask your doubts. This has brought us to the end of the session. I want to thank all of you for attending. I'll switch back to the screen. Do not exit without entering your feedback, guys. So I'll end the session and you will get a feedback form. Do enter or do make comments or whatever you want to mark in that feedback form, right? So I enjoyed teaching you guys. I hope you also had fun. I hope it was a productive session for you. I hope it was a productive session for you. If you have any further doubts, you can ask your doubts. If you have any more doubts, you can ask your doubts. Any more doubts that you might have, guys? Any general doubts are also welcome. Any general doubts that you might be facing with respect to the language, you can ask. So with that, I'll end the session, guys. Thank you for attending. Thanks a lot for attending. Do keep practicing the language, start using the language, and I hope all of us together in exam how to read fast. I guess you're saying fast in the reading comprehension. So that will come only with practice. That will come only with practice. Start reading the editorials of the newspapers, start reading online articles, and when you are reading editorials, try to read on the computer screen or try to use your laptops, your mobile phones. Try to read or start reading articles digitally, because the exams that you give, because the exams that you appear for, these exams are all computer based now. These exams that you appear for are all computer based. So your reading practice also should be computer based now. If you are reading offline, if you are reading the newspaper offline, it's absolutely all right. It should be a routine. And it's a very good routine that you are reading your novels, you are reading your newspapers. But you must effectively and you must gradually start reading online material as well, because ultimately your test is going to be computer based. Your test is going to be computer based. So you must have a practice of reading online as well or on the screen as well. So how to read fast? It will come only with practice. How to read fast and how to comprehend what is written on the screen? It will come only with practice, guys. Only when you have effectively read a lot of material on screen and offline as well. So I hope that answers your doubt. If you have any further doubts, you can ask your doubts. If you have any further doubts, you can ask your doubts, guys. So with that, I'll end the session. Thank you for attending again, and keep practicing, guys, and stay safe.